Now we get finally into game number 2, and interesting, Gen.G have chosen red side. Does that mean that one of their first round bans needs to be replaced by an Urgot, because it is 100% going to be first picked by the side of Griffin?
If they don't, they're making a big mistake. That's all I can say. Go ahead and ban the Urgot, but which one is it going to be? So far, they're allowing the Yasuo and Talia bans to be the same.
I think he dropped Tahm Kench. Tahm Kench is in a weird spot because full power on patch 8.15, still 8.15 compared to 8.16 over in the LPL, but teams have started to find out a little bit. Teams are out of practice with 8.15 Tahm Kench because only the tournament realm has existed for it. To me, this needs to be an Urgot ban. See if Edgar and the side of Gen.G agree. Only change in the bans would be that ban, and they don't change, so surely Urgot is snapped up again.
Well, a lot of shaking heads from us on the desk and even some fans, as seems like Gen.G were totally fine to go into this matchup. They're going to take the Rakan, though. They say we can do this with Rakan at least.
Don't know if Griffin need to piece away Xayah, but it's been a good pick for Gen.G. And they could potentially be running their lovers bot lane duo skins as well. Griffin actually hovering the Caitlyn's locked in. Caitlyn Morgana, they're going old school NALCS counter here. This is considered the counter to Xayah Rakan. Morgana, Caitlyn. We're bringing it back old school, and we will get the matchup aforementioned.
What a fun and interesting couple of drafts we have had so far. The return of Xayah Rakan, 2 games in a row, and the very high priority on that duo from Gen.G, and then Griffin saying, "Nuh-uh, we already have something prepared for you. How about this?"
It is the oldest prepared strategy against Xayah Rakan, but the good one. So hopefully this will be a competitive bot lane. There's some Kakao friends. They are, of course, the emoticons for the chat service they use in Korea, kind of a replacement for WhatsApp and other chat services elsewhere. And there is a Griffin fan in the audience. Seeing a Galio ban. Wonder what this means for Akali, who made it through picks and bans in game number 1.
It's definitely something to think about. We saw LeBlanc and Malzahar banned away the first time around by Griffin on the blue side, the second phase here. I wouldn't expect anything too much to change.
Some of those Chovy champions being run down. Maybe they're trying to say, please, mid lane Urgot, push it into the mid lane, because mid lane Urgot is something he's played multiple times. 2 games of Urgot, 2 games of Zoe, till he pivoted away in game number 5 of this LCK final 6 days ago. And speaking of 6 days, didn't really see any drop-off from the side of Griffin in game number 1. They're going to ban away the Lulu Xin Zhao being played in the LPL in game number 1. Very famous duo over in China, was played in the Asia games as well. Will the Malzahar be taken by Gen.G now that's available? The Vel'Koz, the other quintessential crown champion, that is going to pick up the Gragas once again. So piecing away the Xayah Rakan, but otherwise sticking with what didn't work in game number 1.
There was a lot of discussion from CV Max around Chovy in the mid lane, so I feel like they will be picking some other kind of mid laner. Another ban onto the Lulu this time around, not the Malzahar. Looks like an Irelia, perhaps.
I want to see this one. This is one that Chovy looked good on when we didn't know anything about him right at the start of the season. 1 and 2 in terms of wins, but he has been spamming it in solo queue, and he is one of those clean players on Irelia. So mid lane Irelia going to come through here. It's going to be pretty low on the magic damage on the side of Griffin. Just waiting for jungle pick here, and okay, we're seeing jungle magic damage, but it's Nidalee from Tarzan, not Peanut, picking that one up. I believe he's played it once before in a defeat, but regardless, exciting to see Nidalee. I think this is a better time for the Lissandra, as the Lissandra's going to be locked in, and I saw you shaking your head, so it's actually first time on the Nidalee coming through from Tarzan. Yep. It was Score that played 1 game of it to a loss. We're going to see Tarzan play the Nidalee. However, you choose the wrong time for an invade, Lissandra shows up, and that Ring of Frost could herald your death. So this time, there's more to like about the Lissandra pick.
Yeah, makes a lot more sense this time around. And, well, if there's going to be one guy in the mid lane you want to play Lissandra, it's going to be Crown. So it also explains a little bit why he's playing 2 games in a row. And I don't know, man. I've never been a big fan of the Nidalee in the jungle unless it's someone who can really take over the game. Tarzan, he's super good at pathing. He's one of the best junglers we have here in Korea. But can he get ultra aggressive and take over a jungle against Haru? I'm excited to find out.
It's what he's going to do. Now, will it be successful is what we're going to be able to find the barometer of. At the end of the day, Tarzan goes in, and he's going to try to do a like-for-like. Out Talia in Nidalee. In terms of what you can do if you hit all your skills on either, you do a whole hell of a lot of damage. The Tarzan is looking to be the apex predator in the jungle. Going to be very fun to watch, and whoever rotates first from the mid lane is going to make such a big impact on this skirmishing duo. The 2v2 here, the highlight. Otherwise, the Joss around it, basically identical.
Chovy, super fun as an Aurelia player to watch. You'll remember Faker, he got the solo kill in the mid lane on Wednesday. Chovy going to be looking for some of the same. It's going to be a lot harder up against Lissandra, but I'm excited to see if he can pull it off alongside Haru, or rather alongside Tarzan on that Nidalee. Looks like the game is ready, guys. The countdown has started, so let's jump into game number 2 right now.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다. 미니언 생성까지.
Here we are back on the Rift. Griffin looking to make a statement after losing to KT in the finals by just one game. They want to come up here up against Gen.G. They would love the 3-0 victory to strike fear into the hearts of Kingzone that are waiting for them in the finals of the regional gauntlet.
And you know that Peanut just took a step forwards towards the monitor when he saw Tarzan lock in the Nidalee, one of his most trademark picks. There was a reason Nidalee was out of the meta for so much of 2018, and it wasn't her power level in clearing camps or in being able to kill people instantly. It was Banner of Command, which kind of made her useless because you needed your jungler to be able to help with clearing out Banner of Command minions, and when they were invulnerable to magic damage, Nidalee's just like, well, crap, I can't do anything. The Banner of Command is gone, the meta keeps rolling on, and with Talia banned away, Tarzan is just looking for a champion that is very, very similar in terms of how much aggressive jungle pathing she can do. Speaking of bringing back things from earlier in the year, this Caitlyn Morgana lane that was first debuted in NALCS is here. That was Ole on the Morgana. We're seeing Lahen's on it. Lahen's played a lot of Morgana. Chovy in solo queue has made a whole hell of a lot of Irelia, and he's already thinking about a solo kill.
Began to push that lane early up against Crown. Both of these guys going for Corrupting Potion. They know that they need to take these early trades. Chovy hits level 2 first, but Crown going to respect that. I saw you pointing at the cleanse. Chovy is not going to go ultra aggressive before level 6 and wants to be able to be set free, spread her Irelia wings, and do the damage, not be locked down by that Lissandra.
For bot side scuttle here is Griffin. Chovy rotating first. Again, Lissandra, when she has all 3 abilities, be very quick to rotate, whether you start walking first or not. Tarzan would love to start blanketing the scuttles. We've got that scuttle crab counter because we're Spo TV, so looking at the top will be 1-0. Soccer scoreline for now. For Tarzan, he keeps pushing up, and if Chovy rotates first, doesn't matter which side the jungle Haru is on. That is going to be Tarzan's scuttle.
Well, Haru just taking a very safe farming path so far. Going red to blue to wolves. I guess he did the raptors there after the red, but we'll see if he does go over to the scuttle crab and try to go for it. For now, it looks like he's going for a very long rotation up to the top lane. This is something you don't see all too often. Could be trying to get ahead of this Urgot early. Forces the flash already. Nicely done.
Because it is Urgot, he'll soon have his first stack of the Unsealed Spellbook and be able to take Ghost or another defensive summoner like Heal. But for now, it is relevant. Of course, in the old days, Urgot would be eminently gankable at all times with flash down in the top lane. Has the short-range dash now with his E. But otherwise, if you're Haru, especially when you got the Predator boots. So he doesn't have Predator, he has the Electrocute. But when you have boots and can close the distance, that could be big. As mid lane, every time you see the dive in, you wonder, given that we've already seen so many Irelia solo kills in the past week.
Well, no more charges on the potion now for Crown, and You can see Chovy begin to bully, to begin to be that alpha in the lane.
Speaking of alpha in the lane, Caitlyn Morgana.
Yeah, this is no fun for Ruler and CoreJJ. We'd love to talk to them if we could have a chance, maybe if they win, and ask them if they expected something like this by going for that Rakan very early.
We also need to speak about them at the lack of Samsung Galaxy skins.
Yeah, I know what.
Here is the last appearance of Nidalee. Was Trick playing it early in the season? Trick and Score, I believe, the only two to play it. Maybe played a single game. There were a lot of them, it turns out. Peanut, I think, played a couple as well, but certainly wasn't a big bit. This was all after the removal of Banner Command. As we were mentioning, that was a big blocker in spring season and the start of the summer season meta as well.
Now, speaking of Trick, BBQ going to be fighting for their lives next week. The promotion's going to be done here at Spode TV as well, so make sure you guys get that on your calendar. Should be a pretty fun one.
So 9th and 10th, we'll be fighting that. That's MVP that were 9th and BBQ who were 10th. And also top 2 from Challenger, auto-qualifying without even having to play the Challengers finals was Damwon Gaming, who have, similar hype, not quite to the level of Griffin, but certainly, 13 and 1 will get you plenty of hype in Challengers.
Yeah.
And also Team Battle Comics, one of those orgs that's always been around, but never actually made it this far. Speaking of making it this far, Cuvée with no jungle intervention after the flash. The flash down, and once again, CS parity with an Urgot.
It's been like in that lane. I feel like that's part of the reason why they didn't ban out that Urgot, saying, no, I can deal with this with the Aatrox. They leave up both. Good warding here from Gen.G. They are going to see Tarzan down in the bottom side, so nobody gets caught out. The low mana Lehens and Viper could have baited them in if they wanted to take a 2v2 fight, but they know the Nidalee's here.
First shot was a pretty awkward one for Chovy, Doran Blade, and the Sapphire Crystal, just matching a back timing from Crown. Didn't want to be second and then not get a back timing in because of the teleport advantage from Crown. So no Sheen or Phage or anything like that just yet. Hens was trying to push the lane solo, but Tarzan coming up as well, and TP back into lane from Caitlyn.
Lehens walking at them, saying, come at me. Looks like the dash was down on CoreJJ, but...
That's the bot lane calling for Tarzan to allow an aggressive teleport from their AD carry. If you try to teleport like that, then they just walk up because you can't Black Shield as the teleport is channeling. So that was actually calling in your jungle just to allow Viper to continue to be a big jerk with his BF sword back time.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, if anyone actually did get binded, you're dead. Because a spear to the face, you get trapped afterwards. No cleanse on either of those guys, and so it was a good play to make sure that happened. Of course, the Nidalee is going to secure that third Scuttle Crab afterwards. Not really fighting Haru dead on so far, and I feel like that's more so because Haru is just not challenging them at all. He says, okay, you're Nidalee Irelia, I'll just sit back, farm my own jungle, get what I can, when I can.
That's kind of the CS story for Lissandra, who post 6 against an Irelia just says, I can queue most of the minions, I'll lose 2 every couple of waves, but no big deal. Frustrating, but again, with so many Irelia solo kills, you can understand the theory there. Crown holds back, going to be pro to belt once again, and gotta say, Tarzan's jungle pathing has had to be creative because he's not feeling confident enough to just make the invade with Chovy around mid lane now that the Lissandra's truly online and able to react.
Push from the bottom lane, some pings coming out. Looks like they just want to get some vision around that Infernal Drake because, I mean, we saw game 1 where Gen.G got 4 Drakes and it didn't seem to matter as Griffin won the fights anyway, but if you are Nidalee Irelia and have priority in the bot lane, you would expect to pick up every Drake, and so Gen.G trying to delay that as much as possible.
Tarzan power farms, we continue to push, 10 CS lead. In bot lane, similar in mid lane, but Haru didn't make the early play this time bot side, but he's here now, as CoreJJ might only be a little experience away from 6. He should be 1-2 minions away.
Just waiting for that for now. Lehens is going to plop down a control ward in the face of Haru. Good read there. Seemed like they had a very good idea that he was in that brush.
They knew they had lost river control, and thus they made the play as the spear lands. Misses the pounce, actually, to Tarzan. Awkward.
Don't see that too often, but Tarzan and Haru just so much focus on the bottom lane because of this first blood turret. There's the engage though. The teleport started already. Lahen's in a lot of trouble here. Can they get the cast? They will. First blood will go over to Core JJ.
Black Shield not going to save you. Once again, they pick up a kill, but Core JJ is not the best member, and Lahen's can rinse, repeat, push bot lane, and they should get the turret anyway. So nice to get somewhat of a punishment, but a lot of resources for a single kill, and it's crucially not onto the Xayah to accelerate picking up that first item.
Yeah, just a bit of assist gold, not the best in the end. Will take a little bit of pressure off, but death timer's not so long on this patch, so they're sitting back. Morgana is going to run back into the lane. We'll see how this happened again.
Just a very natural play to make with so much standing gold to be picked up with that turret. Very nice engage from Core JJ. The Black Shield, he wants to twitch it onto Viper. It's onto him, so he's not able to get it early enough. Nicely played by Gen.G, but the kill credit, crucially, doesn't go to their carry or to their jungler.
You talked about CS leads. The top lane after the flash has been totally one-sided to the side of Cuvée. He's ahead about 10, 11, as the Urgot is pushing in the top side to get a little bit of extra to catch up.
That's good to get more data points on this matchup that we mentioned. Went one way for Duke, another way for the Shy, who was able to win the matchup, and now we're having it consistently go pretty well, albeit with jungle intervention earlier this game. Need to know about the matchups. We've seen the Sion actually in the LPL final. I like that one because you can use the ult just to get to lanes and play around the Urgot as if he's a Nasus or something like that. Speaking of the Urgot, gonna try and open up on Cuvée. Splashes up though.
He does have his flash and his ultimate. That's kind of awkward. The flip from the Urgot has the spear miss, and you mentioned it before, you want to hit all those abilities on the Nidalee. One misses, you're kind of awkwardly running at them, so no kill. They do get the ultimate out of Cuvée though.
Items again, just a little bit different left and right of the screen. You can see Stormrazor done and Ninja Tabi, always a pick up against Xayah. The Sheen is now finally there onto the Aurelia, but we were hoping for a lot of action. Despite having all these action tools, we've definitely been taunted by action rather than actually indulged by it, as Haru and Crown do finally walk up.
Crown was pretty good at dodging Sleepy Trouble Bubbles up against Zoe. So far I've seen him dodge a couple of stuns from the Aurelia, so good there, but now the engage onto Ruler is not going to go well. Core JJ looking to follow up. No Black Shield onto Lahen's, and even Viper's getting low. The cast predict from Haru is perfect, and Lahen's is going to go down too. Perfectly done here by Gen.G, the double kill in the bot lane.
The best of Haru is always something to appreciate, and Crown and Haru together always unlock the most. Love the prediction there onto Viper, and casually follows it up. Really nice play from the Gen.G jungler that was always known for his mechanical prowess.
Haru looking to make this spot in the jungle permanent now. He wants to play all 5 games, and he may have just earned himself that spot as single-handedly able to make that play happen down on the bottom side. Haru also going to get the individual Infernal Drake just to add a little bit more to his resume.
So the Hens really wanted to go in on this. Understandably, hit the binding, but then they see Gragas, and Lahen's knows, oh wait, I used Black Shield onto Viper to all in onto the first. I got nothing. They're always going to kill Lahen's. Haru casually predicts there. Couldn't be any better, honestly, from the enemy jungler.
It's perfect.
Haru played that as well as possible, and we always knew that the brains of Ambition and just that ability of Haru to make the flashy play would be basically the perfect jungler. Score on his best day is kind of the two of them combined. Haru really can be inventive, and it's great to see him showing something with the World Championships still on the horizon.
I think a couple of plays like that in a row, you may want to consider either picking away the Gragas or banning it away, because you remember game 1, he also predicted the Rakan, waited for the grand entrance over the wall, and then threw the cask, knew the Ignite would tick down. He's got a big belly, but he knows what he's doing with it, as we mentioned earlier on in this cast.
And I love that he does it his way, because there's nothing more depressing than the fact that the last 3 seasons, since LCK Spring 2017, you look at the champion pools and say, which one's playing the aggressive champions, which one's playing Cinderhulk, Sejuani? It's kind of both of them at the end of the day, Valdez. They weren't actually playing different champion pools. I like that he plays Gragas and says, I do it my way. How about Proto Belt and Runic Echo and things like that? I'll play it aggressive like Spirit has in the past and make it work with my mechanics. A treat to watch Haru in full flight.
Gragas certainly flying at this point. Tarzan, though, looking to strike back from the jungle by taking the Rift Herald, or got able to push up there. Look at the bot lane situation after a couple of ganks. Lehens and Viper on this aggressive and zoning combination. Couldn't even get the turret, by the way. Now they're zoned out of their own turret.
Just like some of the picks on the side of Gen.G couldn't do much in game number 1 to change the flow of the game. Nidalee does a lot of things, but Nidalee doesn't actually change game states with CC. She doesn't have any. Meanwhile, Haru is just about as aggressive as possible looking for a pick.
I love this. They know they got in here with not much vision. Lehens, he's got a black shield. Looks like he was able to read that one. So Mords were in the jungle. Weren't sure if he walked on any of them. Crown gonna get chunked out here in the mid lane as Chovy has missed a couple of his stuns, we've noticed so far, but still doing a decent job chunking out Crown.
And you're really good at frustrating Irelia as this Lissandra. Not a squishy champion that can be solo killed, able to move away very easily and disengage fights, and that has definitely frustrated Chovy, who's just so ready to flex onto the Lissandra. In a longer lane, the Glacial Path is probably not going to actually be enough to fully disengage in Irelia when she's got Trinity Force and able to actually catch up to the Irelia. But in a short lane like mid, Irelia can kind of do even trades with Lissandra for days, and Lissandra will be very happy with that.
Sitting there farming up, down 10 CS, not the biggest deal in the world. It looks like we got a swap now as the bottom turret did go down to the side of Gen.G. Take a look at that Xayah. Guys, 2-0-1, and did get the extra gold from that first blood turret. Gen.G already 3,000 gold ahead with an Infernal Drake. They are striking back in a big way here up against Griffin.
And Xayah and Caitlyn will both be going the same build, and it's going to take a while for Viper to find 3 items, and we all know about that power trough for Caitlyn. Caitlyn getting the first start and rotating around, obnoxious. How do you deal with her traps on the defensive when she's chasing, when she's trying to keep the pace with the enemy who's already ahead? Her weaknesses are accentuated in situations like that, so given that Ruler has engaged, CoreJJ has engaged on this duo, it's all about increasing the pace of the game for Gen.G.
Speaking of which, Ruler and CoreJJ, small little rotation up on the top side, gonna take away some vision. At the end of the day, just a little bit of extra damage done there, CoreJJ. They want to bully Lehens here. I know people gonna spam no bully, but so far Lehens not having the best game, best chance at staying alive so far.
I'm a big fan of bullying, Valdez, and that's definitely not the sort of clip you want out of context, but I'm a big fan of teams who are ahead, pushing their lead and actually punishing the enemy, because Gen.G has certainly been guilty of not doing that in the past. So we want them now with a bit of tempo to use the aggressive mindset of Haru and actually make things happen. Otherwise, nothing happens and Irelia plays you in a 5v5. Suddenly, it doesn't matter that the early game was so good by Gen.G.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, Chovy sitting here with the most gold in, or rather the most CS in the game. And they do have that Rift Herald. The Ruler and CoreJJ not going to get caught out here trying to stop this one.
One good way to stop a bully is get their mum to come to school and say, what you doing? And Shelly certainly is the mother figure in this analogy. So suddenly, pace is off for a bit. Gen.G have to react and fall back. They can't bully for a little while, and that allows more items to slowly go the way of Griffin.
Chovy still not hitting any stuns. Crowny does have his Nikes on so far here. Also has Proto Belt. We'll see if he's got the same moves as Scores Gragas does.
Well, 15 CS lead. Cuvée very happy in top. Now, more importantly, around him, a nice tempo lead to Gen.G. So hopefully we'll see a fight where both Crown and Cuvée can use all their abilities offensively rather than trying to use things like the Glacial Path to glide in after a fight has already largely been concluded for Griffin.
should be a pretty free Mountain Drake here. We'll see if Tarzan even tries for it. No, he's working on the red buff, so. Second Drake once again to Gen.G. They have a monopoly on those tonight. It's 6-0 so far in Gen.G's favor.
Only means something if they can actually get a W onto the board, and this has certainly been the sort of early game that might herald a victory. Viper caught between two items, wants three. Haru says, go away, I want to kill this turret now. They're not going to get it, and that is an engage till down for Haru.
Saying go away, wasn't happy about Mommy interfering in the bullying a little bit earlier on.
Actually, Mommy was Shelly, and I guess she died, so that's kind of awkward to follow that analogy too much.
Yeah.
This point is kind of cool. This is some Scott Tenorman stuff.
She'll be back in the next game.
Definitely some Scott Tenorman stuff going on in this particular game if you start following the parental analogies. Let's just focus on the action, and Urgot's finally been zoned away from top side, and that means the Cuvade takes down solo turret gold in the top, and that's 3 turrets to 0 for Gen.G.
They effectively win the early game here at 20 minutes. Viper just gonna slowly grind through the trough you mentioned, desperately try to pick up any farm that he can, be it Raptors or mid lane farm, and they're just gonna have to take a back seat. You might imagine that that next Mountain Drake, as well as all the Baron visions, should go the way of Gen.G. We'll see how Griffin decide to fight back.
I think the stage is set if Griffin are to stick the landing here for one of their comeback team fights, because definitely in the second round robin when they went 5-4, had plenty of games where early game, like, I don't know what's going on here, don't know about this draft. Draft in this case I think was fine, but Gen.G have just played it better. And then it was a big team fight out of nowhere, kind of a wordless engage, as CV Max talks about. The deck is not really stacked in their favor, Valdez. Again, we say Urgot wants to kind of play around, say, the Caitlyn, which is some interesting range issues there. It's Nidalee, whose team fight is right next to Jace, is not fantastic. This would definitely need to be Griffin nameplates on for them to win a 5v5, or a significant mistake from Gen.G. So hopefully we see some real fireworks. Otherwise, so far, Gen.G are just patting themselves in the back basically every minute of this game because they've been doing the right thing for 22 minutes.
Yeah. Crown sitting here. He hasn't had too much action. It's just dodging Irelia stuns over and over. But if he has a game like this where they're ahead and he shows us why he's picking 2 games in a row of Lissandra, that's another pick that Griffin could consider. I don't think they would ban it, but maybe they would consider some more counter-picky stuff. And I'm just curious to see what exactly it can do once it does get ahead.
Griffin know if they get Baron, they now have the Siege Nidalee build with the Athene's Unholy Grail, and we know about Nidalee's attack speed steroid. Caitlyn rolls up, traps, and taking turrets. But right now they have no control around the river at all. There's a triangle of control wards there that right now poor JJ is just chilling in the middle of. They know they have so much control. Crown can come over the wall and start a fight. So Gen.G get Baron. That's another way that Griffin are going to be attacked, because wave clear, a built over Peacemaker is not going to be enough, and no one else on Griffin has wave clear. They can't afford to give up Barons. How about another pick onto Lehens?
Well, Lehens is going to try to flash away, but that's enough damage. The flash on in from Crown after his ability gets him in range. And down will go the Morgana. So now 5-on-4, where do they go from here?
Someone has to face check, and Nidalee Morgana is not the duo you want to be doing that. The Urgot's the only one with a semblance of tankiness, and he is bot lane. Easy time for Gen.G to boss around this area. Again, the profit of winning the early game is that suddenly the flaws, the negatives of the Griffin comp are actually shown. They're just winning and sieging and had a Baron at 20 minutes. Gen.G's draft would look flawed, but when you're ahead, Lissandra finds so much more value. We liked it much more into the matchup against the Irelia. Lehens knows of the possibility of this, but the moment he sees anyone, he knows he's boned.
There's only really one way to do that. As you mentioned, somebody's got a face check. You can put down your pool, try to see if that procs a support item, and it's an airy, but nothing happens, so you put down a ward. Okay, it's warded. Try to step up, but that one step forward is enough to die, so.
Seems like they're going for the super Caitlyn build. It could also be used on Irelia, but I was wondering what the finish of the item here for the first item would be on the Morgana. I was wondering maybe something like the Shirelias. We saw Shirelia's Morgana earlier in the season, but seems like this is going to be over to the Ardent Sensor, and we already see the Athene's Unholy Grail onto Nidalee, so potential for some nice buffing up of a single threat, but neither of those threats has a killer or an assist. In fact, there is still none. For the side of Griffin, the Urgot is falling further and further down in CS, and Ruler stealing away a red buff. Good news stories abound for the side of Gen.G.
Cuvée just fine to run away from the Urgot as well. Gonna get away with not much more than a scratch. The Righteous Glory purchase from Sword. You mentioned how he's the only tanky one. I could definitely see a comeback fight where Sword is the carry, right? He gets in position, has a good engage, and is just able to protect that Caitlyn.
You do worry, though, that at the same time Irelia dives in and dies. Otherwise, what is she doing in that team fight? And how is it happening on the terms of Griffin? I agree. He will get obnoxiously tanky, but right now, with how I conceptualize 5v5s with such a vision and tempo disadvantage, it's very hard for Griffin to get the most out of their champions. Again, in pretty much the same way that Gen.G couldn't get the most of their champions in game number 1.
Yeah. Both Nidalee and Irelia, they wait for that perfect moment. When you're really far ahead, you know, everybody's gone against 8-0 solo queue Irelia. This is a little bit different, right? When you're behind, she can carry fights from behind, but again, Gen.G have to have positioning mistakes. Maybe Ruler uses his Feather Storm, and then he's in a vulnerable position, and Chovy's there to pounce alongside Tarzan. We'll have to wait and see.
The only thing you could say in the negative column for Gen.G is look at the items. They've got the Bonanza, right? They have Infinity Edge now onto Ruler. Everyone has an item advantage, and they aren't able to flex it into a team fight. It's one of the big differences of LCK and LPL is in a fight-heavy meta. If you have an item lead, you win all those fights, but LCK is about macro, and this Baron's already 50% right now. Griffin can't even get close, but they do know now. Can Tarzan get in? He does have a black shield. It doesn't matter.
Okay, he's going to have to hop on in. No, it's going to be too late. The smite is there. Crown is able to Frozen Tomb himself in position, but he's also got Zondas. Here's Cuvée into the back line. Chovy did enough damage to take out a lot of the health, but not enough to kill anybody. Chovy gets away, but look at that one shot onto the Morgana. Ruler takes out 2 and the Baron for Gen.G.
Once again, the cast was so beautiful of Maharu. It was a split second before the black shield that was late. Coming in from Lahens, that ability has 5-second duration. Be early with it. They weren't. They'll lose the mid lane inner turret, and the inhibitor turret is on the menu as well.
Gen.G looking to make this a fast one. We'll see how much they can bite off from that Baron power play. Still relatively early on in this game, as 27 minutes are here. I feel like they had some room to push there, but some shorter death times as the game is early. They want to go back and buy.
I'm with you, though, Valdez. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet when it comes to what they can eat with the no wave clear on the side of Griffin, short of the Caitlyn. This was a really good bounce up, but watch the cask just before Black Shield. Everything Haru touches with this Gragas is turning to gold. The engages earlier, the disengage this time. Really nice stuff, and even though Griffin's team fight is probably better than expected, Cuvée flashes in and goes, wait, you got no front line, I'm gonna kill everyone. They're only able to get that 500 damage crit to just murder Morgana where she stood. It could have been bigger, but the Baron buff is exactly what Gen.G wants. Because Baron to Griffin, they're back in the game. Baron against Griffin, it might actually take them out of it.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it before, right before the Black Shield. If this was solo queue, Haru would be trash-talking to Morgana the entire game, as Haru has just made Lahens have a terrible time in this game.
Sometimes
so
you don't even need to trash talk. Your work on the Rift does it for you. Another great game from Haru. They roll in, and one inhibitor turret down. How about a second one, just like Griffin in game number 1?
We'll see where the engage comes in, if Griffin are going to make a stand for this top inhibitor. Gen.G very careful about how they push into these inhibitors. They know the engage potential from not just Chovy on the Irelia, but Sword getting in position. Maybe Lahens gets a perfect ultimate in there. There's still potential for Griffin to create space for the Caitlyn for them to come back.
But is there really against Lissandra, Gragas, Rakan, who can come from 3 different directions and one thing hits, game could be over. Seeing Sword take his first good trade of the game, it feels like. Can he actually chase on for this?
He's thinking about it. He wanted to force that ultimate first. Is able to hop away.
Both their hops look so sad compared to other champions. They're like, 200 range hop. But
definitely the Aatrox specific.
A lot more effort for both Urgot and the Aatrox.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, one inhibitor down, another one close to being down. No one can get within 600 units of Ruler.
Yeah, at this point it is 12,000 gold, and Ruler did chunk Lehens in 2 shots the last time, and now he has even more items. It's down to that last inhibitor. We'll see if Gen.G can make it happen on this final push. And the first game, one-sided to Griffin after they took the big fight. Same could be said to Gen.G after a couple of good ganks in the bottom side. Where's the mentality going to be? Let's see how the fight goes. No ultimate on the side of Aatrox. Toby trying to make it happen here. Gen.G will get that knockup though, and Ruler is totally safe in the backline. The double kill though onto the Urgot, and it is going to be enough as Crown frozen tombs, but he can't do much else. So many low health bars on the side of Griffin, but they stay alive with the triple kill.
And this is why you never start the trash talk against Griffin early, because they can make a mountain out of a molehill. They make the lemonade out of the lemon so often. And in this case, even though the Nidalee has been watching the entire game, she's been a voyeur as the enemy team rotated around her. They look for a moment. The moment is on to Cuvée. You look at the cooldown bar, he doesn't have the World Ender, so the fear registers, and Griffin finally get the go sign for their 5v5.
And remember that the World Ender is down because of the trade that Sword took in the bottom side. It all works out perfectly. Not sure if he knew there was going to be a fight right there, but getting that ultimate cooldown away from the Aatrox is huge to start off the fight in their favor. If you had to worry about the Aatrox coming back, they'd probably lose that fight with all those super low health bars, but they're still pretty far away. They're still 10,000 gold down, but this is the first step to a comeback.
And this is the LCK. The table setting is always there for an appetizing main course, but sometimes the order takes longer in the kitchen than you may have wanted. Great fight at 29 minutes. But even though the meal came out, Valdez, was it too late? Because still, basically everything is down from the side of Griffin around the one team fight.
Well, Viper still does have his flash. He's sitting on, I believe it would be 80% crit with the extra Brawler's gloves. Not 100% sure on that, but he's going to begin to chunk some people down on the Caitlyn. And he does have that flash, so let's see what he can do.
Top lane's pretty pushed out, that's good news, but mid lane, super minions are coming in. And remember, only one inhibitor alive, let alone inhibitor turrets. It's not a huge chunk, but it's something onto Ruler.
Yeah, you know, a spear to the face, one auto from a Caitlyn, all of a sudden your Xayah has half health, and you wonder...
Crown's trying to work out the math here, the angles. Can he do it? He cannot.
You gotta be careful, Crown.
He just took his whole health bar for free.
Hello?
That was actually really funny.
It's funny for Griffin, I'll tell you that. Look at Crown now. He's gonna have to go back and teleport back into this fight if they want to make it happen now.
Well, we needed a lull Crown moment, so happened there. But in the meantime, those minions that weren't there up top are now being pushed in. Crown is already back. Who's going to make that big play here? Even 2 kills onto Griffin, the game should end for Gen.G.
Oh, there it is. Crown gets the 3-man stun onto everybody, basically. Toby trying to make it happen, but it doesn't look like it will. Ruler is going to clean up afterwards. Crown, he was Clown, now he's Crown Poggers, says, this is my game. I don't care about that trap. GG, Gen.G, going to tie it up 1-1.
And that makes it the 1-1, like you say, and this series could go the full distance like we saw yesterday. The table setting was long, but finally, 2 great moments. A great Griffin team fight into Crown, winning the game straight up. The Lestrandra's 1-1. We loved it in the second game, but weren't sure about it into the Zoe. Now the draft will be the big focus of game number 3, and the world champions will not roll over in their quest to make it back to be the second org ever to defend their crown. Only the SKT organization has made it to Worlds after winning. SKT has done it twice. Fnatic couldn't do it. Taipei Assassins couldn't do it. Samsung, who have also won Worlds twice, have never made it there the next year. There's still more to run after today. There's still King Zone waiting on Sunday. But Gen.G with that victory keep their hopes alive.
You see CV Max immediately go down to that bottom lane. We all know how this game started. Haru went down there and said, hello, you're going to sit on my lap, and I'm going to tell you how this game is going to go, basically. And CV Max, he doesn't look mad yet. What I wonder is, how's the mentality now after getting crushed in game number 2 on the side of Griffin? You got the cameras in your face. You just lost a big final. CV Max already looking a little bit sad.
But he's not shouting. He's not mad. Again, we saw him in the booth trying to be very ferocious in the final.
Sure.
Don't know if this is a tax difference or if after game number 4, the Spartan side of Griffin will come back out. Much to think about, because remember, the drafts were largely the same, but the mid lane was the big change, and around the mid lane, Crown was able to ascend much more useful in this game, and that early gank allowing Cuvée to be much more competitive in the Aatrox matchup as well. I'm ready for some wholesale changes. I know enough about these champion picks. I want to see the new. But in this game, the graph, it needed 32 minutes for Griffin in game number 1. It was about 26 minutes in game number 2. But Gen.G closed the lead, just like Griffin could in game number 1.
We were all sitting here looking at the Lissandra saying, okay, what's the big deal? What's the point? Waiting for that moment. Crown just showed everybody why he's picking Lissandra, not just into Akali, but into Zoe, into Aurelia, and he's showing that it can be a big pick. We'll see what happens here, though, guys. We're going to go to a bit of a break before game number 3. We'll be right back.